the United Nations Environmental Program, and as well as Dr. Omar Matai has been advocating tree planting in Kenya. So why is it so important? Like, why is tree planting so important?
Tree planting is very important. Like we said before, trees are life. Without trees, there's no rain, without food, and there's starvation. I remember last year Kenya went through a lot of problems, starvation crisis, where people in northern Kenya died and were starving, and devastation because trees are absolutely important to Kenyans and to the world. And so I think that Professor Wangari Maathai did a great job, the UNEP is doing a great job, but it's upon us, young people, to continue planting trees and leave a good legacy and continue the legacy of Wangari Maathai and many of the other people like Taiwan's Green Ribbon Foundation, who is doing a great job in planting trees here and want to go to Kenya and help out. Yeah. There's another thing that I like about the issues of planting trees. You have to go back into almost the old cliche, man, fish, you feed them for a day, but if you teach the Kenyans how to plant trees, and they will be fed for life. And so I think it is great. So the same analogy of fish to tree will be the same thing. And so I think that Kenya and Africa also needs trees for them to survive, so that they can have firewood, they can have all the lives and rains and food and everything else, and be as green as Taiwan is. And so that to me is my prayer, and I absolutely love what you're doing in Taiwan in terms of the environmental program awareness and planting trees and saving your forest and all these many things you're doing that are making this country great. So we want to learn from you, and so I think that's why what you're doing is honorable and nice, and I'm so absolutely touched that you're starting from Kenya. And so that's why tree planting is so important, not just for Kenyans and Africans, also for Taiwan. And so it's going to be a great thing for everybody.
And I also remember you mentioned about like northern Kenya,
right,
being one of the spots you want to plant trees the most. Can you explain to us why?
Northern Kenya, especially in Turkana area, in Samburu, in Pokot, in Malala, that's where it's almost a kind of a desert. Very below Somalia and below Sudan, so there is a lot of problem over there. So the government for years and years have kind of not done as much in that area. They kind of almost neglected the people in northern Kenya because they talk about desert, what they'll do to plant trees. I think if there is anybody, and if you're very much interested in going to Kenya, I think that would be a great place for you to technically help out the northern Kenyans who are technically having a problem because they don't have as much trees. And so if we can all start planting trees in northern Kenya, it will be giving them a life. They will be absolutely proud and be absolutely great to find a movement just like the one in Taiwan helping out. And so I think that is where the desert is. Most of the other countries in Kenya, other areas in Kenya, it's very fertile. There's more trees, and I think Professor Wangari Maathai had also, moved, spread his movement, all the way to other countries, other areas of Kenya, but also northern Kenya has been kind of left behind for many years. So I think there is a need to plant trees there and help out.
And I remember you also mentioned your grandpa used to talk to you, like when you cut down one. Can you tell us, like, how does this get lost, like, in Kenya? Why not people doing it anymore, or why?
I think the problem is that in the younger generation, everybody is interested in cutting trees down. They can put in commercial buildings and all the other. But I think is that Grandpa, you're right, used to say, when you cut one tree, make sure you plant 10 in one. And so even when I went back to my land and I've seen how much they've cut those the farm down without ever planting it, so I'm thinking of going back to do more. But I think is that there's too much commercialization. People are more interested in logging and cutting without ever doing anything else. Population stress, and so that's where the problem is. I think the younger people haven't been, given the right education and being aware that every single time you do not have trees, you have problems. There's no rain, there's no food. And I think we have to go back to where it used to be in the 80s, where younger people were told to plant one tree each. And each one of that younger child will be able to go and take care of the tree. And I'm right, even when I go back to Kenya, I will send you a picture of my trees. And so you'll see that over the years I've kept my trees. I'm sure every other human being, the young kids from my school who are doing the same thing. So I think that people are still very aware, and it's very sad that we lost Professor Wangari Maathai, who's technically been struggling for over the years to plant trees and help women and help areas and villages which were struggling to have trees and rain and firewood and all that. And she did a great job. We've lost a great woman, and a great human being, a great activist. And I think we've lost a mother to us. And I think not just in Kenya, but all over the world, where she technically had an influence in encouraging people to plant trees or preserve this earth.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.